Good morning and welcome to today's Country Roots Show. I'm with Abigail Hope, who is originally from Franklin County, Virginia, and just recently moved to Nashville. We're sitting down with her, and she's an incredibly talented singer, songwriter. And like I said, we're going to highlight her Nashville journey, talk a little bit about her music, and so let's go ahead and get started. Abigail, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up, and what drew you into music?
Yeah, so glad to be here today. I am a 22-year-old singer-songwriter. I just moved from Franklin County. I was born and raised there my whole life and just moved out to the Nashville area. And yeah, just really pursuing music as a full-time career. And
Okay, and who were some of your earlier influences that really shaped your sound and kind of the music you wanted to pursue?
That's a tough one. I would have to say I loved Corey Asbury growing up. He's like a worship. He was more in the worship genre then. Now he's kind of switched over to country a little bit. I would have to say, like, now, I don't know if you know who NF, the rapper, is. Um,
I've heard of.
he's, like, my favorite. I think Taylor Swift's writing is amazing. Yeah, those are kind of the people that I have on rotation. I love worship music. Um
What was the defining moment where you realized music wasn't just going to be a hobby, that you were going to try to pursue it as a career?
So I think that I have been writing songs since I was super young, but I think the defining moment, I had gone through a period where I kind of just lost everything that I thought my life was going to look like. Literally felt like I was starting over. And I ended up going to this songwriting retreat. It's called Song Lab. It's with Michael and Meredith Malden, and they did it in Atlanta, Georgia. And I went with my friend Mandy, and we went. She just stayed and had fun in the hotel, and I went and wrote songs. It was the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my life for sure, because you just walk in a room full of people and you write a song with them, and never met them before, never anything. And that's kinda, I think, when something, like, snapped in me and it was like God was, like, speaking, like, "Yeah, you're gonna do this, but you're gonna do this with me." Because I had been telling myself a lot of lies, like I wasn't capable or I wasn't good enough, all those things that we say to ourselves all the time. And, we were playing one of our songs in the barn that we had written 2.5 hours prior, and we're performing it in front of whoever wanted to show up that night. And it was just kind of a defining moment of like, all right, I'm gonna take this seriously and I'm kind of gonna go do this. That was about 3 years ago, I think now, 2 or 3 years ago.
And obviously, I mean, I don't know if it. Did you know anybody before you moved down to Nashville?
I knew about four people.
Okay.
So yeah.
So, I mean, tell me a little bit about that. When you're coming down there, you're getting into, obviously a new atmosphere, you're meeting new people, what's the environment like down there? Are people pretty interactive with each other? Is it exciting to meet new artists? Do people collab pretty easily? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, and obviously I've only been here like a little over 2 weeks, so I'm still very, very new. I got so lucky with the group that I ended up with. I feel like even like the people that are also signed to the same publishing agreement are just so kind. Some of the girls like will hang out all the time. I think as far as like networking, there definitely is like I think even just being here, I've been to 3 or 4 events where you just go and you meet new people. I think it's a pretty good balance, at least from what I've seen, of networking versus, like, building genuine relationships. I think you need that a lot from what I've seen in music in general, and then just in my time here, is you really need people to have your back and to build, like, genuine friendships. Like, it's not all about networking and just using people. So I think as long as you keep that mindset, it's been amazing for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Obviously you're kind of newer. I know you've been doing music for a little bit, but this is your broad jump that you've taken. But so far, have you had any highlighting moments? Any favorite performances that you've done? Here locally in Virginia. I know you mentioned before the show that you're going to be doing a fall festival coming up here soon.
Mhm.
But what's kind of the most memorable moment you have so far in your musical journey?
Man, I think I'd have to say I just played the fair last month, and that was, like, insane. I found out, I think about it was a little over a week before I played. I had never come up with, like, a set list. I had played a lot of, like, restaurant gigs, so I was kinda like background music, like, wasn't really, like, that big of a deal. To me, when I started, it was. I was terrified, but this one was more like, I had to put on a show, which honestly, I felt like was easier, um, than I don't know, I think as an artist, it's easier to just, like, be loud about it than trying to be in the background. I did that, and that was definitely it felt like to me like the biggest moment because it was like the fair that I'd grown up going to, like since I think they started when I was like 12 or 13, is now like I get to be on the stage and like play for the other little 12 and 13-year-old girls that are walking by. And like it was just kind of a surreal moment. But yeah, I think that was like one of the coolest things that I've done so far, just because it was like, I guess, sentimental to me because I'd grown up going there. So yeah, that was really cool.
Now, when you get up on a crowd, like, up on a stage and you're in front of the crowd, do you get stage shy or does it kind of just hit the moment and just say, hey, I got to jump right into this?
Yeah, okay, so here's my thing, because I played another, like, small slot at a festival in Roanoke too. I told myself, like, before both of these shows that no matter how many people there were or how awkward it was, I just had to go in the mindset that it was a sold out arena and just own it like that and just pretend that, like, I had to go and just give it my all. And I think that really helps with, like, the stage fright or, like, the awkwardness. Because if you do, like, if it's, like, things where people come and go, like, they're not, like, avidly paying attention to you all the time. So that could get in my head, but I just pre-decided I was like, "Okay, this is a sold out arena, I gotta give it what I got," and I think that really helped me a lot.
Now, obviously, and I've met some of your family a little bit, from the local business that you guys have back home. But as far as your family goes, who's been your biggest supporter in that? What role have they taken in your musical path? Just from supporting you locally to even moving, recently 2 weeks ago to Nashville.
Yeah, so every single member of my family except for my older sister came to move me to Nashville. I have 5 siblings, they're all younger, and we all split up between 3 vehicles and made it work, and they all came because they wanted to see the apartment and just help me get settled and everything. I would say, honestly, I don't think there's a bigger supporter, like, between my family. Like, I am so incredibly blessed with the way that they show up for me and support me. My younger brother, he's 16, his name's Shiloh. He would sometimes stay after gigs and help me carry my stuff back to the van. Like, just, like, little things like that where they all were just kind of like, "Okay, you're doing this, like, let's all do it. Like, we're all gonna do it." And of course, my parents have been amazing. They've given up a lot for me to be able to do this, and I was working for my dad, so he did lose an employee, which was hard, but, yeah, I think they're all equally like, my little siblings are they just cheer me on, and it's the cutest thing, and yeah, it's awesome.
What was the I know you're kinda doing the countdown to Nashville, what were you feeling emotionally and, inside and leading up to the moment, 1 week out, couple days out, was there a fear, was there excitement? What kinda were you feeling coming up to the moment? You're leaving everything, you're leaving all you've ever known at home and, going to Nashville and trying to pursue your music career. I mean, what was that like the last week you were at home?
It was really weird. I think I felt like the first initial grief, like, when I first decided, me and my mom really struggled because it was like, "Okay, I'm doing this." And it was kind of sudden, like, I had never really thought about moving here. I was just like, "Oh, I'm just gonna travel and, like, whatever, it is what it is." And I really felt like God was telling me I needed to move. And so we kinda decided, I think it was, like, early June, maybe mid-June, so it was pretty quick, when you think about it, because the first weekend in September I was here. So, I definitely was a little bit fearful. I think any woman living on her own has the same kind of thing that plays through your head, like, "Okay, well, am I safe? Is the door locked?" Like, all this stuff. But I think my family did a really good job of, like, making me feel supported, like, when we came here. And then I just have kind of been taking it one day at a time. I think leading up to it, I think it was the first initial when I decided in June, and then definitely when I left my dogs because they don't understand. When we pulled out the driveway, it was really rough. And it is, like, kinda weird, like, driving away from everything that I ever knew and going towards what exactly, like, there was kinda no there still is no, like, exact blueprint, and I think I'm learning that there might not ever be one with music. So I think it was just, like, giving up everything for what, and now that I'm here, it's like, okay, I still don't understand, but, like, I know that God has me here. So there's been a lot of emotions, but I think that's kinda with anything that's, like, a big transition. Um, yeah, I definitely had a roller coaster of emotions leading up to this, but yeah.
I'm sure. Now, we'll jump into a little bit of your creative progress, process around your songwriting, and kind of go into that. Have you collaborated with anybody on your songwriting, or has it been mostly jointly you? Or kind of talk about what goes into your songwriting and your inspirations behind it. And I know you got your song out that's Calories that we briefly talked about, and There's that's really just a raw and heartfelt song, you know, something that I think you had felt personally. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Calories, which I've said this before, but I think I've been writing that song my entire life. It is a true story, like, when I say, like, the first opening lyric is, "Yesterday I found a journal from when I was 13, pages and lists of all the foods I forbid myself to eat," and it was Thanksgiving a couple years ago. Me and my family were all sitting down at the table, and, we were just eating food, and that was, like, I think at that point, it was, like, even amazing that I was sitting there doing that, and, I went up and I was, like, looking through my old stuff for some reason, and I found this journal, and it was, like, no butter, no eggs, or, like, I don't even remember what all the stuff was on it, and it was, like, literally pages of this, and I was, like, kind of, like, set off a little bit, and then I went back downstairs, and I'm sitting, we're all having dessert, and I told my parents, and I was like, I'm so sad that, like, that was my life, like, that was not okay." And my dad was like, "Okay, well, then go write a song about it." And so I literally did, like, after we're all messing around, like, there's just something about finding that was, like, kind of really emotional for me. And so I went down to our piano downstairs, and I think I wrote almost all of it in one sitting. And obviously, I'll go back and mess around with things afterwards and critique it and whatever, but I wrote the majority of that song, like, that day. And then, yeah, it basically just kinda goes over, like, I've just always wanted to be smaller. Growing up, like, obviously looking back now, like, I was perfectly fine, but the girls in my class were so much tinier than me, and I thought they were so much prettier, and just, like, there's just a lot of brain games that I would, like, mess around with in my own head and just tell myself things that were not true, which did lead to some detrimental issues later in my college life was probably when it hit worse. I think it was a form of control, and then I ended up taking it to a song and writing a song about it.
Awesome. Well, and let's talk about the creative process. I mean, obviously, you know, you said that, you know, you wrote most of that song, you know, in one sit down, but, you know, many artists will talk about it. It's not easy to write a song. You know, there's a lot that goes into it from figuring out the melody, you know, figuring out how you're going to play and put the music behind it and your musical notes to writing the song and making sure everything comes out, you know, as perfect as it can. You know, when you're songwriting, does it come naturally to you, or is it kind of oh, I got to sit down and I really got to think about this?
I think it depends on the song for me personally. I think, like, something like Calories, it was easier because it had just been something that I'd always dealt with. I think it depends, like, if I have an idea or if I just have a really big emotion towards something, that's usually when I will go sit at my piano and just kind of write. Basically, how I start, and this is like every single songwriter that you talk to is going to have a different process for this, but I'll sit down and, like, kind of just, like, play different chords until I feel like what the chords sound like is how I feel, and then kind of just go from there and make melodies and, like, come up with lyrics. The lyrics that I first write are usually terrible, and it's just like I keep something there for, like, a rhyme. Like, they don't even have to make sense, but it's just, like, kinda letting myself be creative, then going back and, like, being like, "Okay, that doesn't make sense, let's switch this out for something that actually does. What am I actually trying to say here? Where's the hook? What do I need to do with that?" And then something that I will say, I co-wrote professionally for the first time in May when I came to visit here, and that is a whole different animal because you have different people that, like, which co-writing is, I feel like the songs that I write co-writing are so much better because there's the things that you know about yourself, there's the things you know that other people know about you, there's the things about you that God only knows, and then there's the thing about you that other people only know that you don't know about yourself. So there's that missing piece that when you go into a room and you have a song idea that someone else is seeing this and you can put it into the song in a whole new way because you're not going to find that on your own. So I think there is that really powerful aspect of co-writing, but when it's just me and my piano, it's kind of like free game, and Calories is the most recent one that got released out of that. So, yeah. Oh, you might be muted.
Sorry.
There we go.
Technical difficulties, folks. We have those from time to time. Obviously, you know, you had mentioned that you have a new song coming up. I believe you said that you're releasing next month.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this is the first time I'm announcing this, but Homesick, my new song, comes out, I believe, October 24th. And it's actually the catchphrase in that is homesick in my hometown, which is kind of crazy timing with the move and everything like that. If it gives you any context of my life the last 3 months, I decided to release this song before I decided to move. So that was definitely kind of a whirlwind transition. But anyways, yeah, this one's really special to me. This was the first one that I got to co-write back in May with some new friends. Producer, his name is Nick Lukowski. He's insane. I swear he like hears in musical notes. And then Amanda Nolan. She's actually got some really good stuff on Christian radio. But we just kind of I came in with the idea of like being homesick in your hometown, and we ran with it, and I'm very, very excited for that one. Yeah.
Do you have any collaborations coming up as well?
Not quite yet. There's definitely some people that come to mind. There are so many talented people out here, and I've had the privilege of meeting a couple of them. I think as I'm planning music for next year, I'll probably get a little bit more serious about that. But right now, no.
So obviously your journey's just beginning. What is the big picture for Abigail? What does she want to, where does she want to take this? Does she see herself on the big stage one day? Are you looking to kind of put yourself out there more on internet radio? Or are you trying to get out on, FM radio? Kind of talk about those long-term goals.
Yeah, I am definitely a big dreamer. And I think when I put my mind to something, like, that's it. And I truly believe that like this is what God's called me to do. So I think just with all those things, it's really fueling me to just go for it. I would love to do stadium tours one day. That's the plan. I don't know how quickly or how that will all happen. But I am just like gonna go towards this like 110 miles an hour and kinda not look back. I'm very passionate about writing songs, that people can relate to, especially I just have a heart for people that struggle, like, when no one else is watching. I felt like growing up, that was kind of a big thing, is I had a lot of friends around me, but I had a very hard time being understood, and so a lot of that you can kind of see in my writing, like, calories even, like, just, like, even being hidden of, like, struggling with food for so long, and I knew people kind of knew, but, like, nobody knew the extent, and just kinda bringing that out into the light and being like, "Hey, you don't have to struggle with this alone, and there is hope and there is healing," and, so I have a very big heart for that, and I think that kinda is what keeps me going is picturing the other 13-year-old girls that maybe, like, I guess picturing myself at 13 when if I would have had something like that, I think that's a lot of, like even when I'm in writing rooms is that's kinda what comes out. So I would love to take this thing as far as I can, and, yeah, I'm pretty much doing that now. I can't really control a lot of it because you never know what song is gonna hit, but definitely going towards it with everything that I have, so
Now, you just mentioned that one of the questions I'd forgotten to ask you, going back to your songwriting and your live performances. What are you hoping that as you grow your fan base? What are you hoping that your audience feels and what they get out of your songs? What is your ultimate goal? Behind your music with them?
yeah. And honestly, like I am a like pop artist, but I'm a Christian first and foremost, and I think everything that I do flows from that first. But I think as sound wise, I can sound a little bit more pop, or you might not be able to tell that some of the music that I write is Christian. So honestly, I guess I would love people to feel understood and seen by my music. And then also know that there is healing and there is a God that loves you more than you could ever know, and that he does care about the problems that maybe you keep hidden or that you are ashamed of, and there's no limits with that. So I think just feeling seen would be the biggest thing for me. I think that's powerful. And I think there's a lot of power when we share our stories with people. That's even biblical, like by the blood of the lamb and the word of our testimony. And I think just like sharing what you've been through, and then like even just me now, like I think I honestly take pride in this a little bit as like looking at me now, I don't think you'd be able to tell what I've been through. And that's all because of Jesus. And I think like using stories and using those things to connect to people is so important to me. And I think feeling seen is like such a core value when I think of going into writing rooms and just writing music for people. If they can feel seen and like someone understands it and that someone connects with them about something, I think is so important to me.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I'm excited about your music journey here. I know it's just getting started. I know you have the new song coming out next month. Are we working on any EPs? Are we going to try and get an album out there in the next year or two? What's the goal for that?
So the loose plan right now is to have an EP released next year. And I will probably be releasing singles in between now and then. I'm pretty sure I have the title track for the EP. I'm not going to say that on here, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be going in a really, really fun direction. Yeah, definitely be looking out for that next year.
Well, that's awesome. I tell you, once you get to the point, we're going to be following you here at home. I know your family will be too. I look forward to getting you back on the podcast here, and whether it's a few months from now or early next year, and kind of talk about your journey. Just to wrap this up, what do you want to say to your fans? Where can they follow you? Do you got a website up yet? Spotify, Apple Music? Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, you can find me on every social, I think at Abigail Hope Official. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, Instagram. You're pretty new to TikTok, but we're still going with that. Facebook. Yeah, every streaming platform. So Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, all that fun stuff. You can find me at Abigail Hope. And I do have a website. You can click through, I believe, on my Instagram bio. It should be in there. It should be abigailhopeofficial.net. And that just has some cool information and things like that on there.
All right. Well, awesome, guys. Well, guys, it's been a true pleasure having Abigail on the show. We're excited for her musical journey. Go stream her latest music. Check her out on Facebook, all the socials, download her music. Abigail, thank you very much for coming on the show today. Very excited to see where your journey takes you, and we'll be following you.